I'm laughing at my mom because she looking glamour plus over here,
No, that's
and
not nice.
and I'm looking. I'm trying to represent. Look, I'm trying to represent for Hebrews me, and she looking like the model, but it's okay. How are you doing, mother?
I'm fine. How you doing, Precious?
I'm doing good.
Good.
So, I believe tonight we are talking about relationships and Christian Christian relationships, social relationships, dating, um, and all in between. And so, start us off with just some basic advice. How would you talk to us about what do you think is going on today in relationships, particularly those between Christians, and how can we improve, the state of things? Because we need a lot.
Look, you need the same things every generation needed, okay? Which is first of basics is to have a close relationship with God. Until your relationship with God is as it should be, then all your other relationships won't be what they need to be, okay? Because it all starts and ends in Him. And so every person, period, needs to first have a right relationship with God. And once you get God into your life, then He starts orchestrating and He starts showing up in all of your other relationships. And it all comes back to love. That's what it comes back to. Okay? When we express love in our relationships, it's kind of like we sow and then we reap. Okay? And so in each relationship, you're sowing something. Okay? And what you should be sowing is love, because that's what God sowed into our lives. And so as we sow, we take that same love that He's sown into our lives and we start sowing that into our other relationships. And what we reap is a benefit of love, okay? And so, but the problem is sometimes we who are Christians are not acting out in love, and we're sowing some other seeds instead of love. And then we're surprised when we get this crop that's not love, okay? And so it all goes back to love. You've got to sow love to receive love, all right? And if you're sowing anything else, if you're sowing sex, you're going to receive sex. If you're sowing discord, you're going to receive discord. If you're sowing hatred, you're going to receive hatred. So you've got to watch what you're sowing into the lives of others, because you can't get a crop of something you haven't sown, all right? Something you haven't planted. And so as we receive the love of Christ, we've got to plant the love of Christ in our relationships. And then we'll start receiving that same type of love back. Right?
Awesome. So, for us that are single, middle-aged Christian women, give us a little bit of insight into how we should be going about dating and choosing those that we do choose to date. And with this dating pool here, it's kind of limited for us. And so what should we be doing in that situation?
Well, your dating pool really isn't limited. When you look at the statistics, it's a one-on-one ratio, even in this area, even in the Houston area and outside of this area. When you look even across America, it's a one-on-one relationship. I know we've been told the lie that there's, for every woman, there's about for every man, rather, there's about 4 or 5 women. That's actually not true, okay? The relationships, if you match it up, it's coming out to about a 1-to-1 ratio. What happens, though, is that too often women in your age group and young women think that Prince Charming is going to come riding up to the house and knock on the door, and he's not. Okay, that's not the way it happens. And so I take my lead from Ruth, all right, from the story of Ruth. And of course you may not be familiar with that story, but it's worth reading, okay? And it's found in the book of Ruth. And Ruth really expounds a lot on dating. It really gives us a lot of tips. Number one, Ruth went where the men was, okay? And she took advice from a mentor. How many of you women are not listening when we talk to you? You're not taking the advice that we give you. First, many times we will say, you've got to go where the men are. That doesn't mean you've got to go to a club, but you may have to go to a gym. You may have to go to a basketball game. You may have to get outside of your comfort zone and find out what football is really all about and go to a football game. And so you've got to go where the men are in a safe place. That's what Ruth did, okay? She gleaned in a field, okay? So where are you gleaning? Where are you working, all right? What guys, what men are you coming in contact in your work area, and you're just overlooking those, okay? You're minimizing your pool. And so you have to broaden your horizons. And one young lady said it in a conference that we had not long ago, that Boaz may not look like you think he looks, okay? Yeah, you've got this great idea of what Boaz ought to be, okay? That you've been dreaming about since you was maybe 10 or 15. But Boaz may be wrapped in a different package. Doesn't mean he's any less Boaz, okay? And so sometimes we got to broaden our horizons and change our concept of what a good man, Christian man looks like, okay? Because, you know, beauty's always been more than skin deep. It's always been more than clothes and a house and a car. It's always been more of character, integrity, okay? And so when we run across those men in life, sometimes we discard them because they don't look like what we've imagined our Boaz, if you will, our perfect man to look like. Okay? And he may not sound like your perfect man. He may not have the complexion you think your perfect man. It doesn't make him any less. Okay? So sometimes we've got to change our perception of what that perfect mate, that perfect husband, that Boaz may look like and think like and act like. Okay? He shouldn't be less than, okay? But he ought to, and we ought to look past some of our preconceived notions of what a man looks like. And then, one of the things that Ruth did is that she noticed she laid at the feet. She laid at the feet of the bed. She didn't lay at the side of him in the bed. She laid at his feet. So many times we're giving up things. Okay, and yes, I'm going there. Okay, we're giving up ourselves before we get to the marriage plate. Okay, we're giving Boaz what he wants and forsaking what we're wanting. Ruth made it real clear that she was not after sex, she was after marriage, she was after covering, she was after protection, she was after a husband, not just a bed partner. And far too many young women, okay, are pulling those dress tails up way before they come down to the altar, okay? And so we've got to learn, and once you do that, okay, then notice what Boaz tells her in the story. He says, your reputation is intact. Okay, so when we start laying in the bed instead of at the foot of the bed, we risk that our reputation is no longer intact. And guess what? Men talk to other men, all right? And even friends talk to other friends. And so where you've been and what you've been doing, your reputation, okay, can sometimes cause you not to get to the kind of man you want in your life. And so we have to hold our reputation intact as well as our body, all right? And so those are some of the things that I would suggest. Going where the men are, okay? Keeping your reputation intact while you're there, okay? Changing some of the expectations you have for what that perfect man looks like, acts like, and is, all right? What he drives, where he lives, okay? Sometimes we've got to change that expectation of what that has to look like. Because none of us got there overnight.
True.
Okay? And sometimes you've got a Boaz in the making, but because he hasn't made it yet, we discard that. Okay? True. And so those are some of the basics that I would suggest. And then waiting for marriage before we give the most precious thing we have is who we are. You're a gift. And when you realize you're a gift, don't let just anybody unwrap you. Yeah. Okay? You're a gift to your husband to be. And so you don't want other men unwrapping you before you get to give that gift to your husband. So those are some of the things I would certainly, I think one of the things I wanted to dispel is that we haven't done a good job of telling you all that you can let a man know that you're interested without being aggressive or without sending the wrong signal. Okay? Notice that Ruth told him right up front, look, I'm interested in being married. She was very open and honest about that. And I think sometimes we've made our young ladies feel like they can't make that first move or show an expression of interest. Not an expression of sex, an expression of interest. And there's a big difference. You can flirt, okay, without being ungodly. Okay, you can talk to a man you can engage a man into a conversation without going beyond that point of making him feel like you're asking for more than you are. Okay? And so there's an art form to that, and maybe we haven't done a really good job of teaching our young girls and our young ladies on how to do that, okay? How to flirt and still be godly, okay? How to have a conversation and still hold your integrity, okay? How to have a conversation and hold a man's attention without him just being after your body, okay? To have an intelligent conversation. And it's a conversation something that you both are interested in. That's one of the things we've got to do, is we've got to find ways of reaching out to the opposite sex without appearing, okay, to be asking for more than we want.
That's some highlights there. So I think, thanks, Mom, for sitting down with me and talking it out. And we are going to continue to do this. So this is the first of many discussions. And we shall see you all later.
Okay.
Stay up with God, though. Stay up with Christ always.
Always.
And check us out on HeBrewsMe.com. And we'll see y'all later. Peace.